Hi guys, in this video we're going to take a look at subtracting polynomials and basically we'll look at a few examples together, and it's actually very easy to do once you realize that subtraction is not much different from addition. So here's the first thing you gotta do. So when you're subtracting two polynomials, first of all, I'm going to put both of them in parentheses, okay? And second, I am going to get rid of parentheses. That would be the next step. Okay, so for the first polynomial, you actually do not need parentheses at all. However, what I will do is, you see how whenever I see a subtraction here, I would change it to a plus minus, right? So I will do that, but in just a second. What I want to do first is I want to get rid of these parentheses like these, right? Because you're subtracting the whole thing. So this is a minus that belongs not just to the first term, but actually to the other terms as well. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to switch signs in the second polynomial. So 4x squared becomes negative. So that would be negative 4x squared. Then this plus will switch. So you have to remember, when you subtract, you got to switch signs in all the terms that you are subtracting, not just the first one, but also the second one. So that will be a minus 2x, and then this one also will become a plus 3. So you are completely flipping terms, okay? So once we do that, I'm just going to spend one more step on, instead of subtracting, I change it to a plus negative, just so I'm clear what I'm doing. So this is a subtraction again. I'm going to change it to a plus negative. And this one is also a subtraction, plus negative. Okay, why am I doing that? Because I think it's easier than to perform operations when you do that sort of thing. You're not gonna not forget that there's a negative. So now we have to look for like terms. So what are like terms? Well, they have the same powers of x, so like x squared and x, or just numbers themselves. So let's look at the x squares. So I see this term has an x squared and this term has an x squared, right? And so in order to combine them, I'm basically doing the operation on the numbers themselves. I forget the x squared itself. So it just be 9 plus negative 4. Okay, or the same thing is 9 minus 4. So that'll be 5. So I got 5 x squared. And the x squared will stay x squared. So it's not going to become anything else. It's just x squared is x squared. Okay. Next, let's look at the x terms. So I have negative 3x and I have negative 2x, right? And we add them up. But negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5. Now, if you don't believe me, just use a calculator, okay? So like if I use a calculator, which I could just go to, for example, just my calculator, just to show you what is negative 3 minus 2 or plus minus 2. So I can just type it like that. I can just type negative 3 plus minus 2, okay? And it tells me, okay, that's negative 5. So I'm not going to make a mistake, especially if you're using a calculator. You're not going to make a mistake. So I'm going to put plus minus 5x, but then later on, I'm just going to get rid of that plus minus. And then finally, the terms that I will combine are just the numbers. So I have a plus 5 here and a plus 3 here. So 5 plus 3, that would be an 8. So basically, that's my final answer, except now I kind of go back and every plus minus, I just change it to a minus. So that's going to be my final answer there. So I will look at a couple of more examples from this activity with you guys. So let's, for example, look at this one right here. So just one more example, maybe. But because they're all very similar. So this next example, I've got 6x squared minus x plus 10, and I am subtracting negative 5x squared, okay, plus 9x plus 10. Okay, so the first step, remember that you have to flip all the signs in the second polynomial, the one that you are subtracting. That's the one you want to flip signs. Okay, so the first one, don't change anything there. For now, I'm not going to do anything. But the second one, I'm going to flip every single sign there. So there is a minus. Okay, that's going to become a plus. So that's plus 5x squared. This one was a plus. That's going to become a minus. This was on a plus. It's going to become a minus. Okay. So the next thing is just an extra step of anywhere where I see minus, I'm just going to put plus minus. And also when you see just the x, and it's like, what's x? Well, you have to insert some number in front of it. And if it doesn't have a number, then just put 1. Okay, so this is just going to be minus 1x plus 10 plus 5x squared plus negative 9x. So instead of subtracting, I'm adding a negative, and same thing I'm going to do over here. Okay, so now I'm going to combine like terms. So what are like terms? Well, 6x squared and 5x squared. Combining that, it gives me 11x squared, right? Next, I'm going to do the same thing with the x terms. So I've got negative 1, I've got negative 9. So negative 1 plus negative 9, you can again use a calculator on that. There's no shame in using a calculator here. That'll give you negative 10. And finally, with the numbers themselves, so we've got the plus 10 and minus 10. Well, plus 10 minus 10 is just 0. So you can add a 0. But that's really nothing, right? So the final answer is 11x squared minus 10x, right? Okay, so maybe, just maybe like one last one. Okay, how about this one? So we'll just do that one very quickly here. So here I have, and the reason why I want to do this one is sometimes you don't have like terms to simplify. So just wanted to show you that there is an example like that. So we've got x cubed, then I have minus x squared and plus 9. Okay, so first thing first, if I see that I'm doing a subtraction, I'm gonna flip all the signs. The first polynomial I do not change at this point, but I'm gonna flip all the signs. So x cubed now becomes a minus x cubed. This was a minus, now becomes a plus. I'm flipping all the signs. This is a plus, that's becoming a minus. Okay, my next step is to get rid of all those subtractions and make them a plus negative. Okay, so just as an extra step, and you might be able to do this in your head later on, but right now I would just keep doing what I'm doing. Now also, the x cubed has nothing, no number in the front, so I'm going to put a 1. Same thing with x squared. It has no number, so I'm going to put a 1 there, okay? And then minus 9 would be plus negative 9. Okay, so what are the similar terms? Remember that only similar terms are combinable. Like you cannot combine x cubed and x squared term. They're not like terms, right? So like apples and oranges here. So let's do the x cubes. So 5 plus negative 1. Well, that's a 4. 4x cubed. Okay. Then let's see what other terms I can combine. The minus 2x squared and a plus 1x squared. So negative 2 plus 1 would be negative 1 and then x squared. Now the 6x is like by itself. There is nothing there. There is no term that has an x. So you cannot do anything with that. You're just going to have to rewrite it plus 6x, okay? Same thing with the minus 9. There is nothing there to do, okay? So this guy right here is by itself. So you can't do anything with that. So just going to rewrite it. Okay, so the last steps, I am going to change the plus minus to a minus. Also, the minus 1x squared is not needed, so that's just minus x squared plus 6x, and then this is minus 9. So that's my final answer. So that's how we subtract polynomials.